At 1:07 a.m., Aarav's phone rang. Half asleep, he almost ignored the unknown number, but something made him answer. There was silence first, then a familiar breath, and finally a voice he hadn't heard in 9 years. Aarav? It was Mira. She didn't ask how he was or say hello. She simply said, "Can we meet tomorrow?" Not someday, not when you're free, tomorrow. He agreed before thinking. After the call, sleep never returned. Old memories, long packed away, began surfacing on their own. College corridors, cheap coffee, rain-soaked bus stops, unfinished arguments, and a goodbye that was never meant to last this long. The next evening, they met at the same cafe they used to sit in during college. The place hadn't changed. Yellow lights, scratched wooden tables, the familiar smell of coffee and conversations. Mira was already there. She looked different, not older, but emotionally tired, like someone who had been running for too long without realizing it. They didn't hug. They sat in silence that carried 9 years of distance. Finally, she spoke. "Do you ever feel like you accidentally ended up living a life you never meant to choose?" Aarav gave a nervous smile, but he could see she was serious. "I think I made a mistake after 25, she said. "I stopped choosing." Back in college, Mira had wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. Aarav had wanted to start something of his own, take risks, build a life that felt big and alive. They used to sit in that same cafe and talk about futures filled with movement and meaning. But after graduation, Mira took a corporate job just for a year, and Aarav joined a company to gain experience. 1 year quietly turned into 3. 3 turned into routine. Routine slowly became identity. They fought when Mira wanted to quit and Aarav told her to be practical. In truth, he was telling himself the same thing. They didn't break up because they stopped caring for each other. They broke up because both were scared to admit they were already drifting away from the people they had once promised to become. Mira stirred her coffee without drinking it. "I got promoted 4 times, she said. "I don't remember wanting any of them." She explained how she kept postponing her real plans. After this project, after this raise, after this year. But things never settled. They only became busy enough to make forgetting easy. "I was supposed to travel. I was supposed to make films. I was supposed to feel alive. I became efficient instead." Aarav nodded slowly. He told her he had started his startup, then sold it out of exhaustion, and now worked in the kind of place he once promised himself he'd never end up in. They had achieved what once looked like success, yet neither of them felt fulfilled. Mira leaned forward and said quietly, "We didn't fail at our dreams. We forgot them." That realization hung heavily between them. Failure is loud and obvious. Forgetting is silent. It happens politely without you noticing until one day you can't remember what you once wanted. She confessed she had recently been diagnosed with severe anxiety. When her therapist asked when she last felt excited about her life, the only memory she could think of was sitting in this cafe years ago, planning a future she never lived. Aarav admitted he remembered that feeling too. They realized together what had gone wrong. After their 20s, they had stopped asking what they wanted and started asking what made sense. And what made sense slowly replaced what made them feel alive. They hadn't chosen the wrong things. They had simply stopped choosing altogether. They had drifted into sensible lives that looked stable from the outside, but felt strangely empty on the inside. Suddenly, Mira said, "I'm quitting my job next month." Aarav was surprised. "Do you have a plan?" She smiled. "No, and for the first time, that doesn't scare me." She explained that she would rather be uncertain doing something she cared about than comfortable doing something she didn't. Then she looked at him and asked, "What about you?" Aarav didn't have an immediate answer, only a growing realization that he had forgotten who he was trying to become. They walked out of the cafe into the evening air, aware that nothing dramatic had happened, yet something inside both of them had shifted. It wasn't a reunion, it was a wake-up call. 3 months later, Aarav received a photo from Mira standing in the mountains with a camera in her hand, smiling in a way he hadn't seen in years. The caption read, "First documentary shoot. I have no idea what I'm doing. I haven't felt this alive in 10 years. Aarav looked at the resignation email he had been drafting for days and finally pressed send. Years later, they would both describe that meeting not as the day they reconnected, but as the day they remembered who they were before life became something they drifted through. Because the biggest mistake people make after their 20s isn't choosing the wrong path, it's slowly, logically, politely abandoning the right one until they wake up successful, stable, and completely absent from their own lives, unable to remember when exactly they stopped choosing. Months after he sent that resignation email, Aarav found himself awake again at 1:07 a.m., but this time the room didn't feel heavy. There was no restlessness, no pile of unsaid thoughts pressing against his chest. He sat by the window with a notebook instead of a phone, listening to the quiet of a life that finally felt like it belonged to him. Outside, the city was the same. Inside, he wasn't. He realized the night Mira called him didn't change his life because she came back. It changed his life because she reminded him of the version of himself he had left behind. And for the first time in years, he wasn't waiting for the right time to live. He had stopped drifting. He had started choosing. Moral of the story. The story isn't about regret, lost love, or career choices. It's about something far subtler and far more dangerous. After our 20s, most of us don't ruin our lives with big mistakes. We do it with small, sensible decisions made repeatedly over time. We choose what is practical over what is meaningful. We postpone what excites us for what feels safe. We tell ourselves later so often that we slowly forget what we were postponing in the first place. The real danger is not failure, it is forgetting. Forgetting what you once wanted, forgetting who you once planned to become, forgetting that life is something you must actively choose, not something you passively drift through. Aarav and Mira didn't wake up one day trapped. They woke up one day settled in lives they never consciously chose. Their wake-up moment came when they realized they had stopped asking, "What do I want?" and started asking only, "What makes sense?" The moral is simple but powerful. If you don't consciously choose your life after your 20s, you will slowly end up living a life chosen by routine, fear, and convenience. And one day you won't recognize how you got there. You must keep choosing. Choosing what excites you, choosing what matters to you, choosing who you want to be becoming. Because the biggest mistake after your 20s isn't making the wrong choice, it's stopping the act of choosing altogether.